I was standing in the rain watching my mom and dad mourn my death. I saw people expressing their condolences, but if they only knew it was all my parents' fault. Hey there, I'm Crystal. Recently, my life got so incredible. Hollywood producers may even create a script of a thriller or a detective story based on my life. I don't even believe it happened to me, but the end of these events was the most unpredictable. I found myself at my own funeral. Want to know how it all happened? Just watch this video to the end and you'll find out. Well, I was born and raised in a very rich family. My grandfather is the owner of a large chain of five-star hotels located around the world. In addition, he has his own winery and a factory producing luxury tableware, and he has several other businesses bringing him more income. I don't know about them. Starting from the very bottom, my grandfather was able to succeed with hard work, ingenuity, and an incredible mind. For many, he was the American dream role model. My grandma supported him in many ways. Unfortunately, she passed away 2 years ago. My grandfather seemed to follow her. Nothing pleased him as much as before. He started staying at home more often. He refused many receptions and meetings. My grandparents had a large family. My dad, the eldest son, 2 daughters, and a younger son. All of them now have families and kids. Therefore, we usually gathered at my grandparents' large dining room in their mansion on family holidays. We need a lot of space, but such family gatherings weren't frequent for us. First, many people lived in other cities or even countries. And second, I can't say everyone in our family was very friendly. When I was little, I didn't understand why my mom often fought with my aunt, and my dad didn't like his older sister's husband. Of course, everyone tried to behave decently and amiably in my grandfather's presence, but as soon as he went to rest in his room upstairs, mutual complaints and accusations started. I realized the reason for these quarrels when I was a little older, and when I accidentally overheard a conversation between my grandpa and his long-term friend, Mr. Phelps. The latter was also my grandpa's lawyer. Well, Grandpa shared that all the relatives want only one thing from him: his money. They were all waiting for him to die so that they could divide his vast inheritance among them. My grandpa believed that even at family gatherings, the whole family came just to show themselves. They just needed their name to be mentioned in the will, that's it. His words upset and surprised me, but the most surprising thing was that my grandfather told Mr. Phelps that the only member of the family who truly loved him was me. And he was right. I always asked my parents to take me to my grandpa's for the weekend. I wanted to spend more time with him. We played, read books. He told me about his youth and about my grandmother. Anyway, I started loving my grandfather after this conversation even more. I decided I would show him my love in every possible way. He deserved such love because he was great. But who knew my actions would be taken negatively by my family members? I was only 16. They reproached me with the fact I deliberately tried to curry favor with my grandfather so that after his death I would get my hands on all his money. But I didn't think about money at all. On the contrary, even the very thought that one day my grandfather would be gone made me cry. He wasn't just my grandfather. He was my best friend. Once, when I was having extra classes at school, my mom called me and told me to quickly pack my things and come up. My grandfather had had a heart attack. That meant we all needed to get together at his country house. I knew then my mom didn't really care about my grandpa's life. Her only desire was profit. She hoped if we arrived at the mansion first, he might change his will. The very thought of it made me hate even being in the same car with my mom. Besides, I was genuinely worried Grandpa might not make it through the night. When we arrived at the family's mansion, his eldest daughter's family was already there. I wish you could have seen the look on my mom's face. She yelled at me because I took too long to get ready. So we didn't have time to arrive first. An hour later, the whole house was full of family members. Everyone was talking to each other in the living room on the ground floor. I stayed by my grandfather's bed because I didn't want to miss the moment when he would wake up. Unfortunately, he didn't. My grandpa died that night of a heart attack. I understood time had already taken him. My grandpa was 80, but he was always engaged in his business and led an active lifestyle. When the doctor announced his death, it seemed like everyone wasn't even surprised. They took the news for granted. I really wanted to yell at them. But I knew this would definitely not bring my beloved grandpa back. The funeral was arranged 2 days later. Everyone in the family pretended to be genuinely grieving over the loss of our beloved grandfather, but I knew they were all just pretending. After all, on the night of my grandpa's death, I heard my uncle's wife say something to my mom like, "Finally, the old man is dead." I didn't understand how they could be so hypocritical. 2 days later, my grandpa's lawyer, Mr. Phelps, invited everyone to grandpa's will reading. I knew this would probably be our last meeting together ever. It was quite predictable that after this, everyone would either start quarreling or the happy ones would leave to burn grandpa's inheritance in different parts of the world. When all the family members were just getting ready, Mr. Phelps came up to me personally and expressed his condolences. He knew I truly loved my grandfather. He said I should be strong, because I would have some difficult times ahead of me. I didn't understand what he was talking about, and I wished I didn't. After reading the will, the only question in my head was, "Grandpa, why did you do this to me?" I guess you already got it. My grandpa left almost all of his huge inheritance to me. Of course, he also bequeathed his kids and grandchildren a part of his business, some real estate, cars, but to me, well, he left a controlling interest in his hotel chain, billions of dollars in his bank accounts, and a lot of other things. But I couldn't get the inheritance until I turned 18. It was 6 months away from my birthday. Until then, my inheritance was frozen. To say everyone was in shock is an understatement. I could feel dozens of eyes hating me. The most annoying thing was that my parents looked at me the same way. They couldn't believe my grandpa had bequeathed such a huge fortune to me, and they had received only a few crumbs. Mr. Phelps thanked everyone for their attention. He said he would personally make sure the will would be properly executed, and that none of the elders would go against the wishes of their deceased grandfather. The lawyer wished me luck once again. Without anyone noticing, he put his business card with his phone number in my pocket, probably in case I needed help. I had no doubt I would need it. As soon as Mr. Phelps left the room, the relatives immediately attacked me, with accusations and shouts. I listened to their hurtful words, but I didn't answer. Well, what could I say? I didn't feel guilty. Yeah, my grandfather knew about the true motives of his relatives, but they were the ones to blame. Somehow my parents took me away and we went home. By the oppressive silence in the car, I realized a serious and difficult conversation was waiting for me. But Mom and Dad didn't talk to me that day. They just told me to go to my room. They locked themselves in my dad's office and discussed something until nightfall. I found out about it the next day, and my parents' words horrified me. My mom said they'd never expected me to do such a trick. Like, I would get into the old man's confidence and make sure he left all his money to me. But if my parents could somehow put up with it, the rest of the family couldn't. And that meant only one thing. When I turned 18 and obtained the inheritance, I would be in serious danger, because nothing would stop people from getting such money. My parents saw only one way out of the situation. They said we should fake my death. In this case, the inheritance would go to them as the next of kin, and I would stay alive and out of danger, even if I had to hide under a false name in a foreign country for the rest of my life. Besides, my parents wanted to insure my life, so that they could profit from this as well. Well, they put it like they really cared about my life, but I knew the only thing that they were interested in was money. They didn't say it in plain words, but I could read between the lines. In fact, I was faced with a choice, a real death or a fake one. Of course, I chose the second option. The fatal accident was staged 2 months after my birthday. Night, rain, road. I was driving, somehow lost control, and my car flew into a ditch. The car caught fire, and I died. And that's how I became a guest at my own funeral. I stood in the rain, apart from everyone else. I watched my parents look really heartbroken. Other family members sympathized with them, but I knew there wasn't an ounce of sincerity in any of it. Now, I live in another country. I have another name. My parents provide for me, but when I graduate from university, I want to find a job and cut ties with my family forever, because I died for them a few months ago. Sometimes I think I did the wrong thing. I showed my weakness. I could call Mr. Phelps, but would he be able to help me? I don't know. What do you think? What should I do? Write your answers in the comments below. Don't forget to like my story and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell button to never miss the channel updates. Bye-bye, everyone.